Today's topic, we're talking about people pleasing. The reason we do this is because it's in our DNA. No, not that DNA. What I'm talking about is your dire need of approval, a habit that's difficult to break. Difficult, but not impossible. If you stick with me, I will tell you how DNA contributes to one of the biggest myths of all, and I will give you 3 steps to how to overcome it. By the way, my name is Brianna, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker. This is my series, Do Not Disturb Yourself, where I teach individuals like yourself how to not disturb themselves and live a happier, balanced life, all by changing the way you think. So let's restart your thinking. It's not rejection itself that causes your people-pleasing behavior. According to Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy, REBT, it's just an event, whether it's happened in the past, present, or the future. It's how you interpret rejection that can cause a lot of anxiety, shame, or guilt, and as well as create the self-defeating behavior, people-pleasing. Let me be clear. Seeking approval isn't always bad. In fact, it's pretty normal to want the approval of other people. It's quite healthy. The problem comes with DNA, dire need of approval. It's when you believe that you must have people's approval just to accept yourself and your circumstances. Albert Ellis, the creator of REBT, explained this perfectly in the theory of masturbation. That is when you have a healthy preference and you change that into a rigid, dogmatic demand, you create disturbances. In this case, the disturbance is people-pleasing, or it can be feelings such as anxiety, guilt, and shame. If you'd like to learn more about different ways we tend to disturb ourselves, feel free to check out the rest of my Do Not Disturb Yourself series on this YouTube page. DNA may have been helpful when we lived in caves. Back then, if you did not have the approval of others and you were rejected, you were left to fend for yourself, which could have gotten you killed. Now, obviously, we don't live in caves anymore, and that primal fear of rejection is still in us. That's why you feel so intense when someone rejects you. Your brain treats it as a threat to your survival. Have you ever had your heart race when someone gives you the silent treatment? Or when you sense someone's upset with you and they haven't even said anything? That's your brain going, alert, we can't survive this. Here's where things get trickier. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a thought, something actually happening, and an image in your mind's eye. So if you're telling yourself you need approval as if you need food and oxygen, your body reacts to it as if you're in danger. This survival instinct is wired in us, but it doesn't mean we have to live by it. Since childhood, we were trained to seek approval. You got a gold star, you felt accomplished, and when you got criticized, you thought you were a failure. We internalized this earlier on, and eventually we depended on external validation to decide if we're good enough. Over the time, this creates a belief. If people don't like me and I fail, then there's something wrong with me. We've been sold this myth, the myth of self-esteem. The idea that your worth rises and falls depending on how others see you and your achievements. The thing is, if your self-worth is tied to such things, the moment you lose it, it shatters. Albert Ellis knew this trap well. That's why he did not promote self-esteem. Instead, he taught unconditional self-acceptance, USA. This means recognizing that you have flaws, you make mistakes, and other people might not like you, but that does not change your value. Your worth is constant, no matter what. Just because we're wired to seek approval doesn't mean we're stuck. The good news, you can train your mind to stop depending on approval and live life for yourself. I will teach you 3 REBT evidence-based steps on how you can overcome people-pleasing behaviors. So we understand that DNA is fueled by rigid beliefs. Beliefs such as, I must have everyone's approval. But are those beliefs actually true? We disturb ourselves because we don't check these thoughts. We let them spiral. Wanting approval is healthy. Demanding approval creates anxiety, and fuels people pleasing behavior. The first step is basically being able to identify these thoughts and challenge them with these questions. Now that you know that you're having such rigid thoughts, it's going to be easy for you to identify them. And once you identify them, challenge them, question them. Try to figure out, is this based in reality? Do people have to accept me just because I want them to? Where's the evidence that I must be liked? And where's the evidence that I'll die if I'm not? Unless someone physically harms you, then that is the evidence. But can someone's judgment or thought of disapproval kill you? No. So you challenge these thoughts. Also, feel free to download the free worksheet that's associated with this video. And that worksheet can help you identify your irrational beliefs that are causing people pleasing behavior. Now that you've identified the thoughts and you challenge them, step 2 is where you want to replace these thoughts with rational ones. If someone doesn't like you, instead of spiraling, shift your thinking. I prefer their approval, but I can live without it. I can bear being disliked. It's uncomfortable, but I can bear it. This shift reduces emotional intensity and help you to refrain from people-pleasing behavior. The moment you are out of the survival mode, the moment where you can actually make decisions that are in your best interest. You're no longer running to someone's approval, you're actually helping yourself. Step 3, after you've identified these beliefs, you challenge them, you create it and replace them with new healthy ones. Well, the next step is to repeat these statements. Here's the truth. Approval seeking is a habit, and habits are not easy to break. It takes work. If you've developed the habit of thinking irrationally for so many years, the only way to break that habit is by creating a new one. And you create a new habit by repeating the rational beliefs. By repeating, I can bear this, I can survive this, I'm uncomfortable by not having the approval of others, but it's not terrible. I would prefer their approval, but I don't need it. The more you repeat, the more you tend to believe it. Repeat beliefs that reinforces unconditional self-acceptance. In addition to repeating these statements, I want you to try to start practicing discomfort. Try saying no to something small and sit with the awkwardness of that feeling. Reinforce yourself that although it feels unpleasant, you can handle that feeling. It'll feel uncomfortable at first, but I promise you, it'll get easier. To break the old habit, try using this coping statement as you try to practice sitting with discomfort. Discomfort is temporary. Growth is permanent. Thank you for staying to the end of this video. If you want to see more videos like this, drop a comment on the type of topics you would like for me to discuss. Let's continue to learn not to disturb ourselves so that we can live happier lives.